Hello, Dr. Fred DiDomenico with Tuesday Morning Transformation. And isn't this nice? This is a transformation right here. Today, what we want to talk about is honoring who you really are. So here's what I'm going to do. I have a book, You're More Powerful Than You Think. It's introducing a spiritually, emotionally based healing system. It's called HEALED. It's an acronym. And we're going to go through a 6-week course, in a sense, where I'm going to take bits and pieces from HEALED to take you from understanding your divinity into moving into fulfilling your soul purpose. So how cool is that? So I want to start with kind of how this began. So when I was a little kid, I was grown, my grandparents were immigrants from Italy, and so I grew up stomping grapes in the basement, man, with my grandfather drinking his homemade wine. My grandmother's up there slinging lasagna and raviolis and meatballs and sausage, right? And so come on in, we invite the neighbors, everybody's over, Sunday dinners. This is how I grew up. And so we were a very strong, also traditional Catholic family. And what did I learn from religion from when I was a little kid? Little Freddie, you're born a sinner, right? You're born a sinner, and by the way, you're supposed to honor Jesus, and he was perfect, but you can never be like him. But, you know, just do your best and try and get there. Well, how irritating is that? I mean, my parents didn't literally say that, but that's the way I understood it. Basically, I'm a sinner, I'll never be perfect, and so here's the problem. You're given a goal, be like this example, but you can never get there. How irritating is that? So what do? You live out your reality. You live out being a sinner. God, please forgive me because I just stole a sweet tart from the local drugstore, and even though I'm eating and it's really good right now, I'm really sorry. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that was actually literal, so. But anyway, so the thing is, what I never understood is it also said we're created in his likeness and image. So if we're created in his likeness and image, and that's our spirit, then aren't we really born perfect? Right? So would God create anything imperfect? No, he wouldn't. And then Jesus said, you can do all these things and greater. Well, I figured he probably wasn't lying. So by the time I got in my 40s, you know, I finally figured out, I want to try and do that. Right? And that's the difference between your humanity and your divinity. And so, are we born sinners? Well, let's look at that a little bit differently, because the word sin is an archery term for missing the mark. And during writing this book, I would pray and I'd be downloaded stuff, and I actually had 3 experiences, personal experiences, interacting with Jesus. And one of the things that I was given, which you'll see in my book, is that when he was on the cross, and one of his last words were, forgive them, for they know not what they do. What's that mean? It means we come in our humanity, and we're given a veil of ignorance, right? So we look at things through our mind. And what's that? Forgive them, they know not what they do. What's that mean? If his message was true, and we're really divine beings, and we really do have a connection, then our humanity could be scared to death of the power of our divinity. What if we really understood that? How powerful? You are more powerful than you think. What's that mean? You get out of your mind. Missing the mark, in my opinion, is never experiencing your divinity. Where as a spiritual being, we're seeking consciousness of ourself, our God self. So we're not human beings seeking a spiritual experience. We're a spiritual being having human experiences. That reframes everything. So one of the things that I've developed are 4 subconscious beliefs. What's that mean? Subconscious means you don't have to think about it. Well, our subconscious mind rules 95 to 99% of our life. So here's the first one, we're spiritual beings first. Do you believe that? Well, you don't have to think about it. Secondly, the universe has intention. That means everything in your life happens for a reason and is moving you toward your soul purpose. The reason why your spirit's in this physical body going through life. The third one is God always has your best interest, meaning in our worst pain, many times comes our greatest gift. So when we see our pain in advance as this is a gift, there's something I'm getting out of this. It's teaching me how to stay closer to God and be divinely guided. It's teaching me how to look at things in my life, and maybe I don't have to associate it with pain. Maybe there's a gift in here and I can look for the gift rather than being immersed in the pain. Deepak Chopra says people come to spirituality because they get tired of suffering. So in my 40s, I decided I'm done. Thank you. I don't want to suffer anymore. And so you seek this path. And all Tuesday Morning Transformation is about is people that said, I don't want to suffer, I want to know my divinity. And I can reframe everything. That's all it is. So we're on this journey together. And so, you know, I use the metaphor, what's the fourth subconscious belief, sorry, is that we will fulfill our soul purpose. We will, because we're spiritual beings, the universe is guiding us, everything happens for a reason. That means we will fulfill it. Now what's that do? It gives you a confidence, internal confidence, that everything in my life is moving me forward, right? It's moving you forward. And if you will fulfill it, then you're not stressed on every little thing, because people who fail focus on every step. You know, they get immersed in the emotion and the pain and the solution. Do you ever have a problem and you're anticipating a problem, and then you're like, well, if this happens, I'm going to do this, and if this happens, I'm going to do this. You have all this internal language creating all this stress. You're creating all these strategies. Why? Because your mind is a strategic tool. It's given to you to solve problems. Why do people love crossword puzzles? Why do they like chess? Why do we like games? Why do people love reality TV shows? Because our mind wants to solve problems. So if you don't have any problems, what's it going to create? A problem, because it wants to solve it. So when you realize that your mind is a tool, it's like if you want to screw in a screw, well, now you use a drill, right? I drill that screw in, but I don't identify with the drill. I screw the screw in, I put the drill down, and I am who I am. I don't identify with the drill. The mistake in our humanity is thinking we are our mind, that these thoughts in our head are actually true, right? When our mind actually just wants to protect us, because our basic instinct is survival. So its primary tool is protection. What's that mean? I have a vision that I have to do things I've never done before. That means your mind's going to show you all the problems with it. Right? It's going to tell you why you can't do it. It makes us afraid of our own power when we are that power, because you're more powerful than you think. Right? So when we understand I'm not my mind, I'm consciousness, I'm divinity before thought. Consciousness is feeling, it's not thinking. Our mind is thinking. And when you get that reference point that I am, that's all it is, I am, right? And my mind is a tool, and I'm before my thoughts. My spirit exists before thought. Then I can direct my mind in a higher consciousness and see things better. Last week's Tuesday Transformation was Masters Always Choose Love. Because if I am consciousness before my mind, I can see a challenge and I can look at it from the perspective of love. And then all of a sudden, when you love, your problems are not problems anymore. They tend to resolve. They tend to just dissipate out of your life. Right? And it just makes life a lot easier. So it's like a light on your porch. If you turn your porch light on at high noon, 12 noon, and you're not looking at the light, how much light do you notice? It's a bright sunny day, probably don't notice much light. But if I turn it on at midnight, there's all kinds of light. Did the light change? Or did your perspective change? So the problem is we're born enlightened, yet we have to go into the dark to be able to understand and know our light. And so we suffer in the darkness. We're born in heaven, and we have to go through hell to come back to heaven again for where we've always been. And all this is about is I don't really want to go through hell anymore. I don't want to suffer anymore. I want to look at things from a different perspective. How about you? You don't have to go through hell. We can know our light, and when we know our light, regardless of the time of day, right, then we become enlightened. Isn't that funny? We become enlightened. How would you like to live an enlightened life? Well, first of all, is understanding I'm spirit first. God has intention. Everything in my life is working out for my best, and I will fulfill my soul purpose. And I'm before my mind. So when my mind is going off, or I feel pain, or I'm trying to solve a problem, I think, how am I feeling right now? Is this what I want? How can I look at this from a higher perspective? And I am a divine being, and because I'm mastering myself, I choose love first. So when we can twist that hologram to go from mind to heart, right, into spirit, from humanity into divinity, from parting that veil of pain into peace, then we can live enlightened. And that's what this is about. So this is step one. Honor really who you are. Breathe it in. Feel your body. Feel your energy. Feel your spirit. Get before your mind. Use breath. Breath quiets your mind. Use your breath. Feel it in your body. Come into present time consciousness, and you'll feel peace. Then we can live enlightened. Let's feel it, and let's live it. We're going to part 2 next week.